The kitchen.
When you think of wooden art, what often comes to mind is craftsmanship, tradition, and a deep connection to nature. But when we dive into the world of nature-inspired wooden sculptures, something even more special emerges. These aren't just decorative items or carvings. They are expressions of nature frozen in time, shaped by hands that understand the textures and stories written in every ring of wood grain. Nature-inspired wooden sculptures breathe life into interiors. They take the subtle grace of a tree branch, the silent strength of a mountain, or the fleeting motion of a bird in flight, and preserve it in timeless wooden form. Each sculpture tells a story, and nature is the greatest storyteller of all. One of the most beloved themes in this realm is the depiction of animals, majestic and serene, wild and untamed. Picture a hand-carved fox nestled against a piece of driftwood, its body shaped with smooth flowing lines that follow the natural bend of the timber. Or imagine an owl, eyes deep and alert, perched on a twisted oak branch, feathers delicately etched with fine blades. Wooden animal sculptures are more than shapes. They evoke emotion, memory, and atmosphere. They call back to forest walks, to sounds of wildlife, to the quiet sense of being surrounded by something larger than ourselves. Moving from fauna to flora, botanical wooden art holds its own charm. Leaves carved from walnut or mahogany seem to flutter even though they're perfectly still. Vines twist with natural fluidity, mimicking their living counterparts in stunning detail. Some artists shape entire blooming flowers from maple, capturing not just their shape, but their softness, their openness. Wooden ferns, reeds, and blooming branches adorn walls or sit gently on shelves, echoing gardens and woods in elegant, lasting forms. These works invite you to pause and appreciate the small intricacies that we often miss in our everyday rush. The curl of a petal, the symmetry of a leaf, the strength of a stem. And then there are the landscapes. Entire forests, mountaintops, and rivers sculpted from layers of wood. These pieces often use varying tones of timber to define depth, light, and shadow. A range of pine may become distant hills. Rich walnut becomes tree trunks. Birch becomes a misty valley floor. These layered works can span full walls or sit comfortably as tabletop centerpieces. They're not just views, they're windows to places of peace. They evoke the sensation of standing at the edge of a cliff, or by the bank of a river even while you're indoors. The wood, carefully carved and arranged, holds the memory of nature's grand scale and quiet whispers. Driftwood sculptures are perhaps the purest meeting point between wood and nature. These works begin not with a plan but with a found object. A piece of driftwood, shaped by years of water and wind, tells its own story. Artists study the natural curves, the weathered textures, and then begin to carve, not to change the wood but to collaborate with it. Out of one piece may come the shape of a whale cresting the ocean, or the curve of a tree reaching toward the sky. Driftwood lends an authenticity, a rustic soul to any sculpture. No two pieces are the same, and that uniqueness makes each one feel alive in a way that polished, symmetrical art rarely can. And it's not only traditional carving that brings nature to life. Many sculptors blend abstract forms with natural inspiration. Instead of directly mimicking a leaf or animal, they channel the essence of those forms. A spiral could represent the unfurling of a fern. A flowing panel might suggest the ripple of water. These abstract pieces still feel deeply connected to nature, but leave space for the imagination to interpret them. They often suit modern and minimalist homes, where clean lines and open forms allow the sculpture to breathe. These kinds of art pieces quietly draw people in. They're not loud, but they leave a lasting impression. Some sculptures integrate multiple layers, not just physically but symbolically. Imagine a wooden tree with branches made of copper, symbolizing the fusion of organic life and endurance. Or a sculpture of a deer carved in motion, its antlers sprouting delicate vines, connecting animal and plant in a single fluid vision. Artists often use contrasts in grain, color, and shape to reflect how intertwined nature really is, how sky and ground, creature and plant, earth and water all rely on each other. These works go beyond being beautiful, they provoke reflection. They remind us of the invisible threads that tie everything together. Birds in flight remain one of the most popular subjects in nature-inspired sculpture. With wings spread wide, carved from light woods like pine or cherry, these birds seem to defy the stillness of their material. Some hang from ceilings, others arc across panels, appearing as though caught mid-motion. A wooden hummingbird hovering near a carved flower. A line of migrating birds etched across a wide wooden wall hanging. These sculptures bring motion to rooms. They carry a feeling of hope, journey, and freedom. They're not just decorative, they stir the spirit. Let's not forget trees themselves, perhaps the ultimate inspiration in this genre. The very wood used for sculpture once belonged to them. And many artists pay tribute to that origin with symbolic tree designs. The tree of life motif, with spreading branches and deep roots, is carved into circles, panels, and three-dimensional works. Sometimes abstract, sometimes lifelike, always meaningful. These tree sculptures often become centerpieces in a home. They symbolize family, history, wisdom, grounding. A single piece of walnut or maple can carry an entire forest's worth of meaning in one artwork. In some works, nature is not only the subject, it's the medium and the message. The grain patterns of wood are used like brushstrokes in a painting. A sunburst carved from a cross-section of log. A wave pattern that follows the natural ripple in the wood's surface. Some sculptures are stained to highlight this grain, while others are left raw, inviting the eye to follow the natural lines. It's a way of letting the material speak, allowing its natural history to become part of the art's story. Wooden wall panels often feature scenes of mountains, forests, and rivers, not painted but carved. These works bring nature indoors in a powerful way. Instead of a framed picture, the wall itself becomes art. With raised textures and carefully cut silhouettes, these panels add depth and character to any room. Whether made in geometric minimalism or with flowing organic shapes, they are both grounding and inspiring. For a more subtle touch, some artists carve nature into functional objects. Wooden trays shaped like leaves, bowls carved to resemble lotus blossoms, candle holders in the shape of pine cones. These pieces blend the boundaries between sculpture and daily life. Even the smallest object becomes a reminder of the world outside, of nature's shapes and rhythms. Every use becomes a moment of connection. And of course, wood allows for personal storytelling too. Many sculptures are custom-made to reflect someone's favorite flower, a cherished memory of hiking a specific trail, or a beloved animal companion. In these cases, wooden sculptures become keepsakes. They are more than art. They are personal tokens, carved from a living material into something lasting and meaningful. That's what gives wooden nature-inspired art its special power. It's personal. It speaks softly, but it speaks deeply.
The kitchen.
Wooden art rooted in nature doesn't age, it matures. It grows into the space it's in just as a tree grows into its surroundings. It breathes with the rhythm of the room. It welcomes light during the day, casts soft shadows in the evening, and transforms subtly with every season. Unlike many other materials, wood evolves alongside your home. It doesn't fade out of style. It settles in, becomes a part of the story. Whether surrounded by stone, brushed against metal, draped in soft fabrics, or positioned beside glass, wooden art complements without competing. It's that gentle, grounding presence that ties it all together. It doesn't shout for attention. It doesn't demand the spotlight. It simply is solid, quiet, natural. A piece of the earth, brought to life by human hands, shaped not in haste but with patience and intention. It's preserved with care and admired by those who recognize that the most powerful beauty is often the most unassuming. Those who pause. Those who listen. Those who appreciate the harmony of simplicity. This is the power of nature-inspired wooden sculpture. It doesn't separate itself from the natural world, it continues it. It becomes an extension of the forest, a whisper of the ocean, a trace of wind over tall grass. It invites you to feel, to imagine, to reconnect. A carved tree is more than an image, it's a symbol of growth, endurance, and rootedness. A butterfly's wing rendered delicately in wood holds not just shape, but the fleeting moment of flight, of silence, of stillness. And when an abstract form flows like a breeze, it reminds us that nature is not always literal. It is energy, movement, and emotion. When you bring one of these pieces into your home, you're not just adding decor. You're planting a seed. A seed of memory, of tranquility, of balance. You're bringing the language of nature indoors, a language made of curves, rings, knots, and grain. Each piece tells a different story. A story that begins in the forest, continues in the artist's hands, and completes itself in your space. No two are ever the same. Because no two trees are the same. No two lives are the same. Every sculpture is unique, shaped not only by tools and technique, but by time, environment, and intention. That's what makes this form of art so deeply human. It holds emotion. It holds history. It holds the fingerprints of both nature and the maker. It's not just about how it looks but how it feels. Run your hand across the surface. It's warm, textured, imperfect in the most perfect way. Let your eyes follow the grain. It flows like a story full of turns, surprises, and quiet depth. It brings you closer to the natural world even when you're surrounded by walls. And in that connection, that bridge between the organic and the man-made, lies the true value of nature-inspired wooden art. It reminds us that beauty doesn't need to be flashy, that power can be quiet, that we are all part of something older, something larger, something deeper. In a world increasingly filled with synthetic, fast, digital everything, wooden sculpture stands still. It asks us to pause, to reflect, to breathe. So whether it's a towering representation of a tree reaching toward the ceiling, or a tiny, delicate carving tucked quietly on a shelf, this kind of art offers more than beauty. It offers presence. It offers peace. And it offers perspective. It helps us remember that the earth still speaks, sometimes through leaves, sometimes through waves, and sometimes through the soft, warm voice of carved wood. And maybe that's what we need most right now. Not more things, but more meaning. Not just aesthetics, but connection. Connection to the forests we rarely walk, the animals we admire from afar, the seasons that shape our moods, the sky that watches over us. Wooden sculpture, born of nature, shaped by soul, reminds us that even in our most modern spaces, the ancient still has a place. Organic, intentional, timeless, beautiful. Nature-inspired wooden art isn't just something you look at. It's something you feel, something you live with, something that stays.